Hi guys and girls, it's Pete, Mindwiseman's channel, aka Maverick Outdoors, and I'm coming into the woods, so it's getting a bit dusky. I've got to make my way as quick as possible onto the pitch in the woods where I did the video, adapt to the situation. One of the main objectives is to do the review on the single hooped Dutch Army Gore-Tex Bivvy bag, which I'm going to give a bit more of a fuller spec on, even though you've seen it featured in a couple of videos, especially when I did when I was on Silbury Hill and I used it up there. Okay, the foliage is actually a bit more open here, so you can see me a bit easier. And as I say, I'm going to do the review during the day tomorrow, so I need to set up my pitch as soon as possible before it gets dark. It's not too bad doing it in the dark because obviously I know the location and the attachments and fixings I'm going to put the tarp to, but it's just more convenient in the light. And then I'll make something to eat because I'm getting a bit hungry. You're right, dog. Good morning folks, it's now Sunday 15th of September, a bit of a fresh morning. It's about mid-morning, no rush to get up, nothing specific to get up early for. Daybreak, the sun was shining through this direction. So in between sort of waking up and dozing off up until this point, watching all the colour effects change from the colour of the trees, the leaves and everything. Patches of mist dotted about, and as the sun came down it sort of radiated rays of light and all different sort of visual effects. No CGI or cinematic effects, all real stuff in real time. Sometimes I get inquiries and questions from people new to the outdoors saying, well, what do you find to do, you know, besides sort of striking a fire and cooking your food and going for a little leisurely walk? Well, that's part of it. Past few hours on and off I've been dozing off, and then waking up listening to the patter of a little bit of a shower of rain, and then the wind blowing the water that's settled from the rain off the leaves onto the ground. You can tell the difference of sound either from actual rain falling to the rain droplets being blown off of the leaves and branches by a light breeze. Also sometimes you catch the sights and sounds of wildlife. And on the way in here, came across two foxes, listened to the deer, all the normal sound effects of being out in the woods overnight. Hello, dog. So for me and Safari Dog, well, that's what it's all about for me. She enjoys getting out. Beat's just going for a dog walk around the pavement, around the streets of where people live. She gets right in the thick of it. So yeah, that's one of the aspects, is just to be out in nature. And why would I trek out here before it gets dark and bother to put the tarp up in the dark, which I'll tell you more about the Basha setup in a moment. Basically, just to be outdoors, be in nature. So I slept in the opened out sleeping bag. Normal little thing I sometimes do. Done it before, shown it before. Just keep the bottom end of it zipped up so it just hooks over your boots. And just trousers on top of the old military inflatable mat. So I trekked into the woods wearing my lightweight wicking t-shirt with the rucksack over the top. Obviously if the weather had got inclement then I'd have taken the poncho out and donned that, but say the rain held off, although it was estimated to rain last night. But once I settled and got the Basha set up, I put on this, it's a long sleeve, really lightweight wicking undergarment, like a first layer, but I didn't wear it because of perspiration. I wore it because it was lightweight and it sort of rolls up the size of a fist, and I can put it in my rucksack without taking up any much weight or room. And on top of that, one of my favourite shirts, mossy oak. So I only had sort of like 2 layers on my sleeves instead of maybe having the sleeves of a fleece and a jacket over a shirt, and then this body warmer, which is the first time I've actually worn outdoors, sort of dirt time, so to speak. And this is like sort of a sleeveless part of a sleeping bag zipped up. So that all did the job, kept me well warm, and it was just nice to have the arms free with just the loose sleeves. And then from my meal last night, which I didn't get time to knock up until once I'd actually set up the Basha, until about 10 o'clock. But it was Singapore noodles. It was a pre-packed recipe from a well-known sort of freezer food supermarket. And it wasn't long life. It's actually, you've got to keep it in a cooler or keep it in the fridge. It lasts for about 3 weeks, but it's not like one of these long life microwavable bag things. You can microwave it, you can cook it up in a saucepan. What I did, I brought one of those with me, and but then to add with it was some extra oyster sauce, a small tin of smoked oysters, some par-cooked broccoli, which I did at home beforehand, cooled it down, then put it in my food box, and a raw onion. But I'll take you back to what it looked like, how I cooked it up last night. Okay, some more food kit. I bought the mess tin, this stainless steel one, because it was a better size to cook the Singapore noodles and last night's meal in. Plus as well, this morning I'm going to be having 2 fried eggs. Got 2 eggs in this little container. Reinforced plastic. Got a little popper, opens up. eBay, China. The only place I could get them. I know you can get ones that contain anything from 4, 6, 12, that sort of thing. But all I wanted was a 2er. 2 ciabatta rolls. I sliced those, toasted them at home, buttered them, so they're all ready to go. So it's 2 fried eggs. That's a bigger surface area to cook the eggs, which is better than the saucepan that would normally go in there with a kettle inserted, and then all that comes as one contained kit. But obviously the kettle was just in there on its own. Then I'm going to open up a tin of beans and then heat them up in the tin on the primers. Bushcrafting innovation, so I can make everything yummy. Oh yeah, and a new clip and seal box. Before I was putting it sort of in a smaller container, about maybe 2/3 that size. Now I can put at least 3-4 days worth of powdered milk, sugar in the bottom, tea bags, packet coffee, then all sealed in that container. I've got some real quality handmade leather pouches, bushcrafting pouches, that were made for me. Sent to me a little while ago. I have been using them, but maybe not necessarily sort of in outdoorsy stuff, but they're really good, and I'll be featuring the use of those in some videos soon. Okay folks, just a little pan around of the part of the woods I'm in. I couldn't actually pitch up where I was expecting to, which is over there, by about another 50 to 70 odd metres, which is the site of where I did the adapt to the situation, and I've used that sort of pitch before, but it was so overgrown with thistle, bits of bramble, nettle, really tough foliage that in the dark at sort of 9-10 o'clock at night it would have been really difficult to actually set up the pitch and actually sort of level the ground. I mean, it was worse than this. There was holly, all this sort of foliage. animal den. It was even 3 times thicker than that. It was loads of holly had all sprouted up, so I had to sort of bring myself further over this way. In that direction there's one of the main paths that goes through, sort of a track which is about just under 100 metres away, so that would have been the easiest point, and it sort of goes straight down that direction where my eye line's just gone, and sort of further over there would be much more thicker, dense, which is sort of more central and out of the way of some of the tracks and trails that actually go around this part of the woods. So I had to sort of find an area that was reasonable like this, and eventually pitch up over here. Just a quick spec, considering, say, the main path, the nearest one that would be to me is over that direction, so of course the main viewpoint would be here, so this holly bush was quite handy to break this up. And then what I did, I've just put the camo net in, sort of just to break up the straight lines, and to sort of, as you can see, sort of blend it in a little bit more. I'll just take it from that side. And as you can see, it's sort of a lean-to, but what I did was I put a clip on just at that point and bunged it right the way through to the upright of the holly, which in turn gave me that seating space underneath. So it was basically a lean-to, 3 connections along the bottom, one on the ridge to keep it up. But as you can see, to sort of break up what would have been a straight line here from sort of viewability, which is even further away, one of the trails over that direction. So from here to that direction is more chance of out of sight, out of mind. But to break up this outline, this sort of straight line, what I did, I brought this up, got this sort of vine which somewhere came from over there, draped that over, just caught it on that little elbow of that branch, brought it down, broke a bit off, hooked that up. Same sort of thing here, brought this up, bit of branch, brought this down, hooked it into the leaves, same there. Same with this sort of little bit of vine effect, came down, pulled it down to hook this up, gathered it a little bit here, gathered it sort of a little bit here. So from the furthest point of any viewability, obviously that's the open space there, now consider I never finished this until about 10 o'clock. So I was doing this all in the dark. As you see, it's sort of quite overcast here with the branches and the foliage up above. So that blocked out some of the what was of the moonlit night, which was actually up there, and it went sort of from south to west. So although behind me is a sort of a blind spot, because obviously it's a lean-to, it was pretty conducive because all of this was masking it. And if we're talking real sort of safety, security precautions and that sort of thing, Karsh would have woken me up, or I'd have heard someone approaching, because there's loads of drop bits of dead wood, sort of small twigs and that, and crunching about. So yeah, so that was the effect there. But if I was going to be here for longer, then I'd have actually got this effect and brought it over this side. So really it's just sort of repeating, bringing that over, and I could have sort of like tacked it down, same as the tarp, but camo netting, and then drawn bits up. So as I say, it would have been this reversed round the other way, which then would have been a better screen on the opening of the lean-to. And I'd have just procured some foliage and sort of dotted it around to blend in, to break up any other more straighter outlines. But yeah, that was the Basha for just last night. Practicing a little bit of stealth as well, always good, especially in the dark, with either a real tilted down head torch, so no beam went horizontally to be noticeable if anyone was around, and also with a small torch, which was this one, this little one here. Just turn it, and I was sort of diffusing it a little bit by taking my finger and sort of shining it, so it was sort of more of a diffused light. Also trying to check for any dead wood, making sure it was safe to pitch up round here, and as you can see, all the foliage that's round there, which is even thicker, where I was originally going to go, more in the centre, to being over here. that was more conducive to being flat, plus as well the holly bush was in a good position to block any view from one of the main areas that might have been viewable, this spot, and then to sort of blend into it. And then just to highlight the inside, you can see where that clip-on is on the outside, and gives me seating space in the middle, which is really handy because if it did rain I can sort of bring myself right back, whereas if it was that angle you can see here, if I hadn't used the clip-on up here I'd have still had this angle sort of coming down like that, so you know the top would have actually been touching the top of my head, which is okay, but at least it enables me to get back, and I say less water ingress, and it's just comfortable to sit up and you've got that bit of tarp rasping over a shaven head. But anyway, let's get on to what's in this bag. The single hooped Gore-Tex Dutch Army L-shaped zip bivvy bag. The first proper time I used it was overnight on a hill when I did Silbury at the beginning of 2013 in -12 sub-zero temperatures, and I had that underneath my MTP tarp. Okay, here it is out the bag. I've sort of folded it lengthways because the aluminium spring bungee thready cordy connected hoop is folded in it, but if that was actually kept separate, and of course you can fold it in half if you want to, or roll it up into whatever configuration you want. Okay, here it is all rolled out, the whole length of it. 2 loops to peg on either corner. The head end, 2 loops to peg, one there, one on the corner. The zip, here's the head end here, the zip comes across, and then down here you can see part of it internal. It's advisable before you actually set it out, pin it to the ground, make any attachments, put the hoop through, is to actually have it fully zipped up first. Otherwise, if you do all the fixings, as you'll see in a moment when it's all in situ and put up, if this is undone it might be too tight, and then when you go to zip it up there's too much stress and pressure, especially here, pulling on the zip before it's actually fastened. So it's always good to have the zip done up first. Pretty logical really, but it's just good to make a bullet point of it. Right, I could just tell by Karsha's body language that there was something around, so I just stuck my head over the top of the edge of the tarp, and there was 2 people, whether it's any significance, dressed in black. Maybe thinking I was an alien, men in black. Looks as if they were foraging about 50-60 metres from where I am, sort of that direction, where they obviously come off the main path. So I'll continue. Hopefully this will be stealthy enough that if they don't hear my voice to find out what's going on, then they'll take no notice, because I'm blended into my environment. OOS, OOM. Out of sight, out of mind. So let's see if it works. Okay, so along, well, the L-shaped zip comes along here, and then virtually about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way down. Back to this point on the head end, you can see that little tube of Gore-Tex material that goes all the way through, and that's for the hoop to thread all the way through and obviously arch over, and one end goes in this eyelet, which will be this end here. At each side of the rod end there's also an extra fastening loop to tag it down with a peg if you want to. And there you can see the hoop. It's also connected into the other eyelet there. Right, so what I'm going to do now is stake it out. Okay, so what you could just see there is before I pegged these two foot end fixings, I sort of pulled it to get a striation so everything is central rather than it actually being pegged out at a slight angle. So try to centralise it, but starting off with the head end, just getting that squareness. So in principle the foot end is sort of near enough parallel, so you've got the squareness and there's no twist or contortion of the shape of the bag. And finally, it's also advisable to peg in the 5th and 6th loop, which these two either side at the head end creates more stability here, just in case if you didn't have that pegged, the bottom of this might sort of move around a bit and just feel awkward when you're manoeuvring in and out and unzipping or zipping up. So that's 6 fixings. You've got 3 areas to place a mat. If you can imagine, there's a triangular piece of Gore-Tex there. There's one on either side, one there and one over there. And then halfway down, you've got a strap that goes all the way underneath. And then you've got another 2 corners, or should I say, to take the corner of the mat with a diagonal loop there and there. But that's to fix a mat underneath if you were going to place a mat externally rather than put one internally. When I've used it, I've actually just sort of kept my mat inside. Head in zip. That undoes quite nicely because I pegged it out nice and square and kept the zip done up first. I have actually tried it by not doing the zip first, taking it steady, so obviously so I don't damage it, and it is really awkward. So as I say, just to reconfirm, keep the zip done up before you actually peg it out, and then the zip is in a really good position not to be sort of pulling and not to feel tight. And of course this can also do up easily. But then down the side, we've got the side zip, which goes all the way approximately to about knee position, so you've got a really good opening to get in and out. But I'll just do a quick reverse in time to just a couple of little bits when I was on Silbury overnight on the hill. I got it brand new. I got a really good deal on this. Shall I tell you how much it cost? It cost me 25 quid, brand new, £25, which is about something like $40-ish US. The actual official alley pole that you can see hoops over didn't come with it. So 30 quid in all in, the Gore-Tex Bivvy bag, and they normally retail anything from sort of £100 upwards, and that's even grade 1 or used, but good nick, you know. But I had to get the hooped pole separately from a company that actually gets supplies from, I think it's the company's called Corinthia, which I think is a Spanish company which are contracted to make this sort of kit, and then they manufacture these poles. and that cost me 20 quid all in. Showing you where the improvised hoop at the end, so it's not that solid, but it did the job for last night, and you can see it's got more of a tunnel shape to it, so it's just easy to manoeuvre around. So then just pulling that over, see if I can get you to see inside. Should be able to see it, but there it is, hooped over there, so my feet could go underneath there, and my booted end was just down there. I think you can see it with my fingers pointing. So that creates a temporary second hoop underneath. Matte heat insulation was the Brit Army issue, 3/4, 120, 1.2 metre length. Really lightweight. It's less, I think it's about 400 grams rolled up, deflated, but it actually loops, goes through a loop that's actually underneath the Gore-Tex bag, and there's also then 2 corner loops. And then underneath here I actually put my thermal floor sitting mat for just the head area, head and neck area. And another bit of stealth magic I've been developing. Hey presto, I end up over here. Right, as you could see, there's 2, when I undid the zips, especially down the side, there's 2. One on the outside, and there's also a tab on the inside, so you can see the 2 there. Also, before you zip it, there's poppers to fasten down the storm flap. Also on the head end there's also poppers, so if you imagine, before I zipped it up, I can do the poppers up, then when I'm inside, zip it over. So there's 2 poppers in total along the length, one just slightly off from the hoop end, and then one a bit further down, just there. And you can see the storm flap is quite big to go over the zip where my thumb is, and it's all tape seamed, waterproofed and everything, so that goes down, and it's the same at the head end as well. You've got one there, and you've got one over the other side, and then that storm flap comes down, so you're well waterproof, and of course it's breathable Gore-Tex. It's nearly night time in the head end of the hoop. It's getting a bit dusky now. Hang on a minute, I'll turn the torch off and I'll turn it back on. But I've mainly got the torch on to sort of demonstrate and show. At this end here you've got 2 little connectors, and all this mozzie net that's now hanging down was actually originally rolled up and connected around the hoop, as you could see when I got in it and when I unzipped it originally across there. But you can lower this mozzie net down, and if this open end is unzipped here, then the mozzie net can come down and no CM mesh. Okay, so the way the mozzie comes into play is when you're inside it and the side is zipped up and the hoop, obviously the zip where you've closed it ends up down here, but there is another zip this side just in there, which when you pull it from the inside, it opens up the hoop but the side still stays open, and there you can see the mozzie net's hanging down. But what I'm going to do now is actually zip it, because right along the edge are zip teeth, and that actually connects into here. But I'm going to zip it up and show you it in situ. So there's the mozzie net, zipped across to there, as you can see, but it's in line with the zip that connects the hoop to the main body. So of course when you unzip the main body, which is accessible from inside, the mozzie net can stay in place. So if you're on the inside there looking through it, you've got more daylight, and plus as well you're protected from any bugs, especially if you wanted a bit of ventilation during the night. But of course if the weather got inclement, then of course you'd take that back up again. But say the zip, all the zips are accessible from inside and also on the outside, so all good stuff. Okay, back out in a bit more daylight. If you've seen Overnight on a Hill when I did Silbury, you'll see I use this. It's a bit of synthetic tubing that insulates water piping, but inside it I've got one of these bendy fasteners that you can get from a DIY shop. It's sort of spongy plastic, nice and soft, but inside there's a piece of wire that holds its shape, and basically I made this. Just a lightweight improvised hoop, and I'll show you where it goes. Okay, so I've unzipped all the way down the side, and what I'm going to do is put the hoop inside and just sort of wedge it in to some of the bivvy bag, so it just holds it in place, but it just raises up so you get more of a tunnel effect. Okay, so I put it inside and wedged it so it just holds this up, so it gives a bit more of a tunnel effect. What I will be doing in the near future is actually waterproofing and fixing a tab onto this end, and then just sort of paracord it and pull it out a little bit more, which then, as you can see, gives it much more of a tunnel effect, similar to the Special Forces British double hoop bivvy. There is a loop at the head end just on top of the lightweight hoop, so you can cord that, pull it over and string it down, and again just to get a little bit more striation here, which will be really good to complement an extra hoop at this end. And I've also got some Gore-Tex tape, special tape, which dries any stitching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some sort of, maybe a few loops, and then actually get another one of the hoops at that end. Obviously the radius is bigger here, or shall I say the semicircle is bigger this end than what it would be down there. So if I acquire something similar to that, or even just a bendy bit of wire that I can then thread through to the improvised loops that I'm going to fix here, waterproof and treat, and then it will replace what I've got in here, which obviously can move and can fall over. But eventually it's going to have much more of a tunnel effect once I've made those improvisations. As I say, if you do watch, or you've seen the whole of the video, Overnight on a Hill, in the sub-zero temperatures, you'll see how I actually use this bivvy bag as sort of extra protection, not against the sort of the elements, but mainly against the cold, and also to sort of try it out, because the tarp sort of came over at an angle, similar to how I've got this set up here. Yeah, so that's it really. Hello dog. Am I your bivvy? I'm her bivvy. Yeah, you saying hello YouTube? You saying hello YouTube? Yeah. Yeah, you saying hello? Okay, sit down. Sit down. Kiss your paw. Give me your paw. Thank you. There's a good girl. Okay, wave to YouTube. Okay, fun and frolics. You got to have it. Okay, the philosophies behind, or the philosophy behind. Can you stop that heckling, please? The philosophy behind bivvy bags, Gore-Tex bivvy bags. They're initially made for the military. Military mindset is totally different. You're on operations, you're on an exercise, you know, there's a job to be done. It's not about, you know, lighting fires and cooking up some food and enjoying nature. It's about doing a job. And the bivvy bag is specifically, you know, for personal protection against the elements. It's there for practicality. You get in it, you get out of it. I've got mates that have gone up Brecon. All they've got on is the clothes they're wearing and a bivvy bag tucked in their kit. And if the showers have opened, they've put on some thermals and just got inside the bivvy bag, which is the same sort of design as, say, my tropical sleeping bag, and just pulled the cord. A little bit of visual gap to look through, and they've just laid on the ground with hopefully a 1200 centimetre mat underneath them as well. So of course bivvy bags and similar items have been utilised by the leisure industry, bushcrafters, survival, preppers, that sort of thing, but they sort of originated from sort of military use of just getting in the bag when you've got to get your head down for a few hours and you're on operations and not get wet, basically. But of course, you know, they've got practical purposes. But for me, I just find that you know, it's a good bit of kit to have. Although it's not practical, you can't sort of sit up in it. You've got no sort of space to move around in and do your sort of admin or daily duties. As I say, it's fit for specific purposes, so you know, horses for courses and all that. You can put bits of kit at the head end as well. So I hope the review video has helped put the Dutch Army single hooped, amend it into 2 hoops, Gore-Tex bivvy bag into perspective. I hope it's been of interest. So I'm going to strike down camp in a moment, pack up all my kit and trek off somewhere over through them woods. So as always, thanks for watching, really appreciate your interest. Appreciate all you subscribers that have been following me, all new subscribers also that have recently signed up. I endeavour to try to reply to everybody's comments to the videos. So once again, thanks for watching, really appreciate your interest. Catch you in other videos soon. Cheers.